Hi everyone, I'm Tim Holliday, the co-founder of CrowdMics, and I'm excited to give you a comprehensive look at the whole CrowdMics platform. I'll show you the interface, we'll talk about installing and running the Atom, and we'll even go through some frequently asked questions. But let me give you a little bit of background. So about 4 years ago, my co-founder and I, Sean, he's my brother, we were sitting in a room together, about 150 people in a meeting, and we just couldn't hear the audience interaction. And he leans over and says, Tim, why don't we just use our phone as a microphone so we could hear each other? And I thought it was a great idea, and so much so that I thought it must be done, it must be out there. And long story very short, when we couldn't find it, we decided to build it. CrowdMics powers audience interaction with 3 key features. The audience can answer live polls, they can text their questions or comments, and we also turn phones into wireless microphones. In this video, I'm going to take you through the entire CrowdMics platform. We'll start with the interface, how to actually create an event, run an event as a moderator, what it looks like for the audience, and even what goes up on the presentation screen. Then we'll get into the setup and install of CrowdMics in your meeting space or event room. And then finally, we'll go through a bunch of frequently asked questions just to make sure you understand how CrowdMics can add value to your meetings and events. Let me show you how to create an event in CrowdMics. I've got the moderator device here. I will just simply hit the plus button in the upper right corner. It allows me to create an event. I will give it a name. Let's go ahead and do tutorial. And I've got a few options here. So for example, I can add a passcode. That's if I really want to make sure that the audience is joining just my session. I can put a 3-digit passcode. I can add a sponsor image. That replaces the CrowdMics logo with whatever image or logo you would like to put into the interface that shows up both on the presentation screen as well as on the audience's device. We're going to leave that right now, but I am going to turn on CrowdMics Online. This is important. This allows the audience to join a session by simply going to a link on their phone, tablet, computer, any device that can get to the internet. Let's go ahead and call the CrowdMics Online session tutorial as well. It checks to make sure that that link is available, and I will go ahead and hit Create Event. And that's it. Now my event is created and ready for the audience to join. I do this just a few minutes before the start of my session. Now that I've created my event, I need to connect my Atom device. I do that by going to the Atom tab and simply typing in the 4-digit serial number on the bottom of the Atom, in this case 3128, and hit Connect. And now my Atom is connected. I have the ability to adjust the volume if I'd like to. I'm going to go ahead and leave it right about in the middle. So now in order to show selected text comments and the live polls up on a presentation screen, I simply go to a link crowdmics.online/display/ and in this case it's tutorial. We also have a dedicated Apple TV app and an iPad app if you'd like to use that as your means of putting the content on your screen. Let's look at how the attendee will join a session. You'll notice that in some cases, the session will just show up on the attendee's screen. In this case, I can see it here and just tap to join. And it's that simple. Now, not all networks allow for the protocols to do this, meaning not all networks have Bonjour services enabled or allow peer-to-peer connections. And if not, then that event will not show up on the screen, and in which case, the audience is instructed to simply enter the 4-digit event code. And in this case, it is the same as the Atom code, 3128. And by entering that code, I'm able to join the session. Attendees joining online will simply go to the link crowdmics.online/tutorial. They'll be asked to enter their first name and last name, and now they can join the event as well. Now it's time for audience interaction. I mean, what are we doing today, right? We're running microphones around the room, we're putting mics in the aisles, we are yelling from our seats. Now we just simply ask the audience to tap the Request to Talk button. You'll notice that the moderator can see who's requested to talk, and they simply just tap the name to turn that person on. In real life, it sounds something like this. The moderator says, hey, it looks like we have a bunch of questions coming in. Let's go ahead and start with Lori. Lori, why don't you stand up, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on your microphone. The moderator taps Lori's name, and you'll notice her phone lights up and turns blue. And now, Lori is talking into her phone and is heard out of the sound system in the room. It's like we just handed her a microphone. That is the power of the CrowdMics microphone. Now, just as easily, I can tap to turn that microphone off, and then I can switch over to Brett, and then to Kara. I'm passing the microphone at light speed. Now I'm going to enable open mic mode. This really turns every phone into a push-to-talk system. So Lori's going to press and hold. While she's talking, no one else can speak until she lets go. Now, Brett can press and hold, and he has the microphone. We're able to allow the audience to take control of the microphone in a very smooth way. The CrowdMic's microphone is the most efficient and effective way for an audience to be heard. However, most people are deathly afraid of microphones. To stand up in front of 200 of their peers is like the number one fear. So we allow the audience to text questions and comments to the moderator. The text questions come into the moderator in real time, and they can simply just swipe and delete those that are not relevant or those that are redundant. But perhaps I want to push those to the presentation screen. I can do so by just tapping on the star. Now that's an effective way for the entire audience to see what's on screen. However, we see more often than not that the moderator isn't necessarily the person on stage. They may be backstage. The presenter is on stage, and instead of teaching them the CrowdMic's platform, we simply put the presentation screen on the confidence monitor. So now as a moderator, I'm pushing questions just to that confidence monitor, not to be seen by the audience. This is a very effective way for a presenter and moderator to be able to handle a Q&A session without having to learn the entire CrowdMic's platform. All text comments can be exported by simply tapping the export button in the upper right corner. Even questions that were deleted will show up in the export. I can also clear all comments if I want to get ready for the next session, or at any time disable all text commenting. CrowdMic's offers live polling, audience response. You can create your own poll by simply tapping on single choice. Let's go ahead and just create one. Let's do what color is the sky? And I can type in my responses. I can do up to 5. In this case, I'll do 3. I add options by just simply tapping on the add option. I can also swipe to delete options. Once I'm satisfied, I'll hit save poll. It'll allow me to name it as I wish and save. Now I'm ready to serve up the poll. I just simply tap on the name. It will allow me to tweak it one more time, but let's go ahead and send it to the audience. You'll notice it takes over the audience screens. They respond by tapping on their screen. And in real time, I can see the results populating both for the moderator as well as up on the big screen. When I'm satisfied, I just hit stop poll and it will remove from the audience devices. Let's serve up another poll. What is your outlook for 2017? The audience again can vote, and in real time I can see those results. Now, I can do a quick poll as a moderator. Maybe I just want to get a quick yes/no on the audience, a quick pulse on what they think about what I just presented. Are you understanding what I just presented? I hit the yes/no button, and that will instantly push a yes/no poll. The audience responds. It looks like most are understanding what we're saying, and then we stop the poll. CrowdMic's offers single choice polls, choose one of the following, or multi-select polls, which means choose all that apply. All polls can be exported by tapping on the export button on the upper right corner, and they'll show up on the analytics report after the event. We can modify what shows up on the presentation screen on the display tab. So inside here we have options, for example, to modify the background color of my display using a color wheel. We can also modify the background color of the text and the text color itself. And then finally, we have the option to increase or decrease the text size. Just a few options to modify your display output. After the session is ended, you can see everything that happened using CrowdMic's analytics. This shows you all the people who requested to talk, all of the text comments that were submitted, and the results of the live polls. Let's talk about setting up CrowdMics. This might be in your school lecture hall, your corporate auditorium, or maybe in your event space. The most important factor is wireless networking. The audience joins the network, the moderator joins the network, and the performance of that network really dictates the performance of the microphone. This means that you need to have a sufficient number of access points in the room, and that those access points should be providing good signal quality to each device. In some cases, it may mean that you need to install additional access points or upgrade your system to really make the CrowdMic's platform work well. The microphone is very subject to the network performance. Text commenting and live polling, as you can imagine, are not. So how does this interface with the sound system? That's where the Atom comes in. The Atom is a hardware device that plugs into the wired network as well as into the sound system with the XLR output. Now the signal path will go from the audience phone to the nearest access point, from the access point to the Atom on the wired network. So that means that we need to open up a few ports between the wireless and the wired network. So the signal path needs to be very fast from the audience's phone to the Atom. We provide a number of manuals and guides to help you install the Atom on your network and work closely with the IT department to make sure that it performs well. The performance of crowd mics is very much dependent on the performance of your wireless network. When that's all working well, the sound is amazing. It sounds like a microphone. The latency is very low and the quality is very high. We use very high sample rates, and the microphones perform surprisingly well on these phones. But latency is, of course, our enemy. Latency is the delay from when I'm talking into my phone and my voice is coming out of the sound system. This is what 300 milliseconds of latency sounds like. It's very difficult for an audience member to talk through that. With crowd mics, we are shooting for less than 100 milliseconds of latency. This will depend on the performance of your network, but our system is optimized to minimize that latency so that it sounds great every time. Latency is introduced when the connection to the access point is weak or when the access point is overloaded. Therefore, we may need to upgrade or install additional access points to get the performance that you're looking for. Connecting to the sound system is simple. We plug into the XLR output of the Atom into your DSP or into the mixer in the room. Some may consider running crowd mics on a completely separate wireless network, and this is very doable. Just make a note that the audience will need to switch over, of course, to that wireless network, and that you may be introducing some additional interference in the room. Crowd mics runs on iOS and Android devices. On iOS, you get seamless performance from the microphone, from texting, and from polling. On Android, you get great performance from texting and polling, and many devices like the HT devices, LG, the Google Nexus can all use the microphone. But there are a number of devices on Android that cannot use the microphone because of the well-documented issues with real-time audio. So you've got these audio layers that are added to some of the carriers, Samsung and others, where it just adds too much latency, too much delay in talking into the phone, and that makes it impossible to be used as a microphone. The CrowdMic's microphone requires a Wi-Fi network to operate. The text commenting and live polling can be used with CrowdMics Online, and that's just a connection with any internet-enabled device. But the microphone requires Wi-Fi because we're having to push audio very quickly from the phone to the Atom device. This is why we can't just simply use the data plan on the phone, because when I talk into the phone and it goes to the cell tower and back, that delay is just simply too long, and it cannot be used as a microphone. When CrowdMics is working at its best, it should almost disappear from your meeting or event, meaning that the audience is just interacting. That's our goal. We want the audience to interact in a way that feels natural. Maybe it's their voice, maybe they're texting, maybe they're answering polls, but they are a part of the conversation and they walk away feeling like they had a voice. We hope you found this tutorial video helpful. You can always reach out to us at team@crowdmics.com, give us a call, or learn more on our website. We want to make sure you have the best CrowdMics experience possible. Thank you.